and welcome to another fantabulous episode of Chillers with myself, as always Nadine, and as usual in the beautiful Moyo here in Melrose. I've got the absolute pleasure of having a Mr. New York, a man named Emma today over here from NY.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing great now.
Fantabulous. What is it that you actually do, Emma? How would you describe your musicianless?
Well, I guess the bottom line would be I'm a singer, songwriter, guitarist.
And what's the style of music for all those that haven't heard about you yet, although everyone's going to hugely very soon, I know for sure.
Oh my, all the categories are confusing everybody, but we're calling it world rock. It's a fusion of world music and rock music.
Okay, so let's get it right. Your heart kind of lies with the rock side of music.
Well, my roots do, because I'm an American, so I was brought up in the rock and jazz and blues vein of things, of American music, but
your persuasion has been to the African side of life.
Quite South African, predominantly South African.
So you started off playing some sort of an instrument when you were about 5.
Yeah. When I started picking up instruments when I was a kid. I think it was piano first, and then I just moved on to other instruments throughout my life.
Inspired by sort of muso folks?
Not in my family. It's just I was always exposed to a broad swath of different kinds of musics from everybody in my family. So, but there were no other musicians.
And then obviously you're pretty much at school. It was considered your forte, so you followed it like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Until you got to like about 18, was it, when you started touring and gigging around with some at the time unknown entities, but they were up and running.
Yeah, we did this was back in those days. It was top 40. You toured and you went on the road and you played cover material of whatever was on the top 40, whether it was dance music or rock or jazz or things like that. So
at those times you were kind of just singing along to other people's tunes.
Yeah, you're doing totally cover music. But I say this because a lot of people kind of frown on top 40. But the thing is, we were playing at least 5 to 6 nights a week for 5 to 6 hours a night, and no matter what kind of music you're playing, when you're doing that, you're honing your skills. And I did that for a number of years. So I always consider myself a much better musician as a result of that.
So now you're at a sort of a pivotal point where you've made your decision that this is exactly where my heart lies, and you sort of feel as though you want to follow the path of the African influence from there on.
Yeah, well, actually, what happened? Yes, African in general. Well, actually, what happened with South African music? There was one pivotal point. It was almost an epiphanal point. Somebody had given me a compilation CD with Southern African music on it, and there was one artist. He was a Maskanda artist. His name was Aaron Mbambo, and I heard this one tune. I can still tell you the tune. It was called Selishoni Langa, and it just completely captivated me. And I wanted to know from that moment on. It really set my career trajectory. I wanted to know everything about it, not just the music, but the cultural context. And so from that, South Africa was it for me.
So you got overly, well, not even, you can never be overly inspired by anything, but you got seriously inspired now by this new genre.
Deeply.
To the point that you actually employed the services of lightly, if you can say, of one in Washington, a linguist to teach you which Zulu?
Zulu, yeah. I wanted to know everything about the cultural context of the music, and I became so enamored that through friends I kept finding people, hey, do you know anybody from South Africa? And I finally found a woman who was a linguist at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and I studied with her. She taught me. She was actually Xhosa, but she spoke all of the Southern African languages, not just South Africa, but she spoke Shona and all the European. This woman spoke like 18 languages. She was an extraordinary woman. So she taught me for about a year, and at one point she says, "Listen, if you're going to do this, you need to go over."
Sure. So you obviously did. You told your then wife that I'm off to South Africa.
Now wife too, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah, I went home and I said, "Honey, I'm going to South Africa," and she said, "Okay, well."
Cheerio.
Cheerio. Hope it goes well.
Because it's fair to say, unfortunately so, that South Africa isn't always promoted so positively within the media. There's a lot of ill propaganda, as I'm sure we're all aware.
Well, particularly back then.
Yeah, for sure.
This was back in the late 80s and early 90s, so yeah, it was still under the apartheid era, and and it was the same on my side of things. People were warning me, aren't you scared to go? It's scorched earth.
Yeah, you'll get shot, or you'll fall off your elephant, or you'll fall out of your tree house, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Catch something evil and awful and die.
Yeah.
But
It
you're
was
still
ridiculous.
you came back, but on that very first journey, you bumped into or were lucky enough to be introduced to Pops Muhammad.
I did. I had kind of all the context I was given when I first got here did not pitch up. It was there was a lot of people moving around and stuff like that. And I walked into Kohinoor Records down on Court Street, looking for Aaron Mbambo's music.
Okay.
Because that was one artist whose name I knew.
Sure.
And I walked in. It was actually pretty funny because I walked into Court Street and Pops at that time was actually working in Kohinoor Records. And I walked up to the counter and in my American accent said, "Do you have any music by Aaron Mbambo?" And of course, it was like the whole place felt silent.
Yeah.
Because Americans really weren't coming over very much during that period, first of all. And so they kind of had me pegged as a European tourist. And then the fact that I knew who the artist was, Pops kind of was like, how do you know who this artist is? So, and after that, we just became famous friends. We have worked together for all of this time.
So he appreciated the genuinity and the real, from your point of view, and the passion that you had for actually what was your intention? Did you want to work with these people as producers, or did you actually want to create your own sound? Or
all of the above. It was all about trying to immerse myself and absorb whatever. I didn't particularly have an agenda. It was more about absorption and immersion. I wanted to kind of add to my musical and intellectual toolbox.
Sure.
I don't know if that's a good way to put it.
You got what you came for, hey?
Oh, absolutely. In droves and droves and droves. And every time since then, honestly, it's one of the things that I just became so enamored with the music initially, but I'm so enamored with South Africa because every time I've been here, it has literally been a string of magical events to me, for me and to me. And I've always been felt very welcomed and very embraced, and if I can say even very adopted in the communities that I've managed to become a part of. So it's
slightly serendipitous in its journey for you.
Incredibly serendipitous, actually. Yeah,
Sure.
Very much so.
But all with good cause, I'm sure. I mean, there's obviously a reason why you don't just randomly bump into your icons and what have you on the street. And
no, yeah, you attempt, you try to make inroads and network and try to exchange. But exchange is an important word. It was really all about exchange in the beginning.
So those inroads obviously led you to have the opportunity to do various shows and sort of off-Broadway, you went back to the States, hey?
Oh, absolutely. After my first time here, I had gone back, and initially what I wanted to do is I wanted to continue my education, for lack of better ways to put it. And while in New York, I contacted the South African consulate and said, look, I'm looking for somebody to help continue teaching me Zulu and all that, and they put me in touch with Welcome Somi, who wrote Umabata of Umabata fame, and I ended up from there on working with Welcome Somi and Tuli Dumakude, and I became her musical director and guitarist, and we worked off Broadway. She had a one-woman show that we had quite a few runs off Broadway, actually 3 runs off Broadway, which was
all very inspiring experiences indeed, which we'll have a lot more to talk about after this break. Guys, don't be going anywhere. I'll see you in a moment.